Hey everyone, this is Rachel, and the book I chose is Grit, The Power of Passion and Perseverance by Angela Duckworth. Alright, so I thought it would be important to talk a little bit about who Angela Duckworth is. She's currently a professor of psychology at the University of Pennsylvania and the founder and CEO of Character Lab, which she created to give parents and teachers actionable advice to help kids thrive. As you can see, she has multiple degrees, including 2 regarding the brain, and of course, her PhD in psychology. At the age of 27, when teaching grade school students, she became interested in the question, what makes someone successful, which led her back to grad school and eventually giving an operational definition to the term grit. All right, so what is grit? Grit is defined by a whole host of things, but kind of breaking it down into some of its main components. First and foremost, grit is composed of passion and perseverance. These two components contribute to overall grit, but they're not necessarily equal in their contribution, despite both being vital. Additionally, consistency over time. When talking about grit, it's easiest to understand in relation to a goal. When Duckworth interviewed adults about what they thought made someone gritty, their ability to always be consistent was a reoccurring theme. And lastly, holding the same top-level goal. So we're always operating with goals at various levels, from low or bottom level goals to top level goals. Our top level goals are those big picture items that we want to accomplish, where the mid and low level goals are typically in place to get us to those top level goals. However, it is not only important that someone deemed gritty has top level goals, because most of us do. What matters most is the person is committed to the same goal for a very long period of time, i.e. that top level goal doesn't change, and that person is willing to do anything and everything to accomplish said goal, no matter how long it takes. So, what I thought might be beneficial for everyone next is to give you all a chance to see how gritty Duckworth's scale says you are. Take a moment, pause this video, and score yourself. Don't take too long to think about each question. Try to answer most honestly, which typically happens almost immediately. Once you have marked down a score for each question, add together your 10 individual scores, then divide that total by 10. Once you have done this, resume the presentation, and I'll take you through the results. Now, it's important to remember that I am not the psychologist here. I am simply just putting forth the information that Duckworth has presented in her book for you to analyze your own results. So, how did you do? Compare your score to this table. Where did you fall? For instance, if you scored a 4.1, you're considered grittier than 70% of the adults Duckworth surveyed. One thing I think is important to remember is that our grit score can change. Duckworth's research suggests that our grit score tends to increase as we get older, so everyone in this class, yes, including you, Angie, is still young, so we have all our time to grow this score. Okay, so the book itself. Duckworth breaks this book down into 3 sections. First, what grit is and why it matters. Second, growing grit from the inside out. And third, growing grit from the outside in. So this first section, she talks about how she came to studying and moreover defining grit. She talks about what grit is composed of and why it matters in our lives. The second, she talks about factors within ourselves that play a role in how gritty we are. These things include our interest levels, how much we practice, the purpose of what we want and why we're going for it, and the amount of hope that we've got. That third section talks about the outside factors that may influence grit, i.e. parenting or extracurricular activities. What I believe makes her the most successful with this book is her use of storytelling. She not only talks about some things entirely above my head, and maybe not above some of your heads, but she makes me remember that she has many more degrees and experiences than I, but also talks about relatable topics to most, such as parenting, working with children, or simply thinking about and questioning your own grit and success. So, what are my top takeaways? First of all, effort is twice as important as talent. Duckworth even found that effort and talent are sometimes inversely related. Second, talent times effort equals skill, and skill times effort equals achievement. This point is kind of piggybacking on the previous point, and as you can see in Duckworth's equation, talent is only accounted for once, but effort is counted twice in order to get to a level of achievement. This takes the idea that while skill is needed, effort builds that skill and makes that skill productive. Third, as I mentioned before, our current grit level isn't stagnant. Duckworth's research suggests that grit increases with time, but you can take active steps to increase your grit, such as practice and general effort granted to challenges and projects that may come your way. Fourth, this idea that I resolve to make tomorrow better. The role of hope and grit isn't one that I expected. The typical idea of hope is this idealistic sense of the world, kind of having our heads in the clouds about what we hope the world to be. Duckworth says grit relies on a different kind of hope, like hope that has been infused with determination. So, changing the phrase, I have a feeling tomorrow will be better, to I resolve to make tomorrow better. And lastly, staying in a constant state of learning. Just based on reading this book, it is clear that Duckworth is determined to understand grit from every possible angle. When reading her book, it seemed like every tangent my brain would go on, like, did she think of this? Or what about that? She came in and addressed. I guess it speaks to her grit, but you have to be committed to intimately understanding a topic to be considered an expert. Finally, how does this book relate to class? Well, I think it's really encaptured in this phrase. Enthusiasm is common, endurance is rare. What better phrase to encompass an entrepreneurship class than this? Yes, everyone can get excited about something. We can all have ideas that really excite us, and we have so much force behind figuring out how to turn this idea into reality. But what makes someone unsuccessful instead of successful? Endurance. The ability to hunker down, get to business, and not cower in the face of failure. It is picking ourselves back up and fighting the fight until we have completed what we have set out to complete. It's a long, long endeavor and not something that is just going to be accomplished in the matter of moments. So again, enthusiasm is common, endurance is rare. Love it. I think this book is a really important and well-written book. It doesn't take a whole lot of time to read. Again, she uses that storytelling method, and so you kind of just flip pages and don't really even realize how much you're going through. If anyone has any additional questions for me or wants this book, although I can't see you in person, I can definitely send you a link on how to get it. Thanks so much.